friends, welcome to the Season 2 Episode 1 companion video. I got some questions in my Ravelry group and I just wanted to use the companion videos to answer any questions that you guys ever throw at me. I feel like it's not really part of the podcast to answer these questions, so and some of you have asked questions that are quite yarny, and some of you have asked questions that are completely not yarny. So I am just going to make these companion videos so that all your questions can be answered all in one place. There you go. So I wrote it all down because I just think it's easier. Then I don't forget anything, but I have a lot of notes. So let's go through them. I'm going to go through who asked the question, what the question was, and then we'll try to give you an answer. And I will try to write you back also on Ravelry, but I'm not always going to be able to. So this may be the place where you have to find your answers. First of all, let me just thank you guys for leaving me questions. I figured no one was going to, and that's always a little embarrassing. So I'm glad I got some questions, and here we go. Susanna from Knittastic, and I love her. I have met her. I met her at Rhinebeck, and I also met her at Vogue. And you are super sweet. You're adorable, and I like your questions actually. She asks, "What's the hardest pattern I've ever worked on?" So I think every pattern looks daunting to me when I first pick it up. And I've started reading patterns. You know, like we know this secret language. Reading a knitting pattern is like a code, right? So we all know how to do it, and you can tell if there are things in it you can't do and things in it that you can do. So the hardest one that I've done to date is my Oracle shawl, and it wasn't hard. It was just stuff I haven't done before. So anytime you want to make something, don't find the pattern daunting. Just decide that you're going to conquer it, because anytime you pick up a pattern, you're going to learn something new. So that was my hardest pattern to date, but I didn't think it was hard. There were certain things I just had to learn as I was doing it, and now I know them. And I loved knitting it, and I'm very, very proud of this shawl. I'm very, very proud of it. It's really one of my favorite things. I actually find myself dressing so that I can wear it. So you can see how proud I am. She also wants to know other fiber festivals that I plan on attending this year. So we're going to Edinburgh. I'm going with Christy Glass and a couple other ladies. I think there's 10 of us total. And I would like to go to Maryland Sheep and Wool. I don't see that happening because I'm going to spend every penny that I have in Edinburgh. But I'm obviously going to Rhinebeck. I always go to Rhinebeck. That's my go-to. My mom goes. My dad even goes. We rented this adorable suite in, I don't know if it's a Courtyard Marriott or something, but it's right by the Rhinecliff Bridge, and you literally just go over the bridge and you're there. So it's really not that far from where I live. It's about an hour and a half to get up there. So I find it just to be a beautiful fall festival, and there's so much to do and good food, and you meet all the podcasters, and I think it's great. So I'm going to try and make it to Rhinebeck every year. But other fiber festivals will probably come and go. I'd love to go to VKL in San Francisco. Because I love San Francisco. It's where Andy and I went on our honeymoon. But I think I'll probably do Rhinebeck every year, and then maybe one other festival if I'm able to. So we'll see. My knitting goals for 2018. I have not knit flat brioche. I've done brioche in the round, and I want to learn flat brioche, which I'm sure I know it already, but I learned how to read. If you can read your brioche, it's so much easier. So I can read it in the round now, but I need to learn how to do it flat. And I think you have to knit each thing twice. So I just haven't done it yet. And I think that I'm going to tackle. I'd like to learn cables. I haven't made any cables. And so cables kind of scare me, but I am going to conquer that. And I'd also like to design something, and I don't think I'm there yet. I sit down and I'm like, do I want to make a shawl? Do I want to make a hat? Should I start with something super simple? You know, I don't want to copy anyone else's designs. And sometimes after you've made something, you know, I made the pie shawl and I'm like, cool, I could design a pie shawl. I don't want to design a pie shawl. Someone else did that. I want to do something different, but I have to figure out something practical and unique. I don't want to work on a pattern that's just like everyone else's. So I also think I'm not seasoned as a knitter enough, but that is my goal this year, to start working towards it. Maybe I won't accomplish it. Maybe it'll happen next year, but that's something that I'm trying to work towards. So thank you, Susanna, for your questions. Let's move on to Melanie, Vegan Monkey Mama on Ravelry. She says, oh, well, first of all, I do understand you, and I do share your passion. So, do I still want to make the Portage cardigan in Tosh Merino Whiskey Barrel? Yes. Yes. That is going to be my Rhinebeck sweater. If I can finish it, if I can tackle it. I have so many other patterns that I want to do, but I really want to get to Andrea Mowry's Winter Honey. That I think is going to be my Rhinebeck shawl. And then I think my Rhinebeck sweater is definitely going to be the Portage this year. I was really daunted last year when I looked at the pattern. I had a lot of make ones and make this. I didn't understand them because I hadn't worked with them. They're super simple. You just have to leave a little, I always have a pad next to me that goes, make one right, knit through the front or back, you know, like tells you which way to do it. Because otherwise, I think it's like make one left is knitting through the back, make one right is knitting through the front. And you don't want to confuse them because you don't want to do the wrong stitch. So I leave myself a little key next to where I'm knitting, and I am tackling that project this year. I have 10 skeins of Whiskey Barrel, Mad Tosh in DK, and they're just sitting there waiting for me. So I will let you know when I'm starting, and if you want to knit it with me, that would be great. We can ask each other questions. We can cheer each other on. And yes, you said that you were looking forward to the videos that Christy and I are going to do in Edinburgh. She is a ton of fun. She is one of the most genuine people that I know. What you see on her channel is what you get. She's fun and caring and generous and zany, and I'm really, really lucky to call her a friend. Yes, Edinburgh is going to be hysterical. Edinburgh, sorry. And I can't wait to see those videos myself, to be honest. Thank you for your question. Peggy Jean Pearls. I assume your name is Peggy Jean, so that is what I am going to call you. And she asks, what is my process for choosing yarn for multicolor projects? What I really do is I pick a skein that I want to work with. So let's say I want to make the Find Your Fade. Let's just say I wanted to make a Find Your Fade. My first thing to do, you pick one that you want to work with, and then you look at the speckles, right? So this one has pink speckles and purple speckles, and over here there's some rust, and over here there's some cream, you know? So you're gonna look for, oh, there's even turquoise in it, right? So you can pick skeins that go with it in all different sorts of ways, and then that's how you make a fade. That's how I pick colors for things. When you start to dissect what's inside of all the colors, like there's raspberries in here, and then when you get into this one, there's like some caramel color, you know, in the next one, and then the next one has some pinks in it, and you just kind of take the speckles and work with them. The speckles will tell you which way to go. So I hope that helps. Oh, Peggy Jean had some other questions, so here we go. These are non-yarny questions. What are some of my favorite bands and books? Okay, I am not a huge reader. I love bookstores and I love buying books, but when I sit down to read, my eyes hurt and I fall asleep. I know, it's always been a curse for me because I actually really like the stories that you get out of books, and my parents were teachers and our house was full of books, and my sister would sit there for hours from a very little girl and read humongous books, and I was always jealous that I couldn't do that. So I became more of a cinephile. I love old movies and TV shows, and so that's more of what I do. But I did manage to read a couple books in my life that I really love. My first one is called The Historian by Elizabeth Kostova, and it's kind of like a cross between the Da Vinci Code and Dracula. So it's like got vampire legends, and you're going through Eastern Europe and Southern Europe, and you end up in like Istanbul, and there's so many layers to this book where they're going on this hunt to try and find something, and you're going through all of this history, through all of the Middle Ages, and it's a great, great read. It's one of the only books I've ever read twice. The ending, I hate. I know that sounds really weird and isn't gonna make you want to read the book, but the book itself is so well written that you just read it for the read, not even to get to the end. You just read it for the read. You may like the end. I didn't care for it. Jane Eyre is one of my favorite books. It's just a great book. I'm listening to it right now on Craft Lit. Craft Lit is a podcast, an audio podcast, where they read a chapter, and this woman with this beautiful English accent is reading it. She has such a delicate voice, and I'm loving listening to it. And then after they read the one chapter, they explain everything. So when they talk about certain things with Mr. Rochester or certain mores from back in the day, you get them all explained to you because you don't know what it's like living back then. So there are certain words that, you know, you would underline if you were reading it, and they will explain it all to you, and then they go on to the next chapter. So you really miss nothing. It's craft lit. I highly recommend that you listen to those books while you're reading. She does a book every couple months, I think, or every month. She's done like The Count of Monte Cristo. She did Dracula. There are a whole bunch on there. So you just look through and you find out which episodes have your book on them and you listen to it. It's wonderful. Highly recommend. And then modern books, Harry Potter. Guys, like, I don't read very much, but when a new Harry Potter book came out, I was like in the book. I was like, burp, 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 burp. I didn't talk to anyone for like a week. I finished it, and then I think it's amazing how J.K. Rowling would take this tiny little thing that happened in book 1, and it's a huge thing in like book 7. And I have no idea how she did that in her head. So they're not children's books. No matter what anyone says, they're not children's books. I had a boyfriend years ago that went to London on I think it was right after book 7 came out, and he went to London on a business trip, and I was like, you're bringing me back the British versions. And he brought me back the British versions in this big brick, and he was not a wonderful boyfriend. So this was a big deal. And I remember he came back and he's like, I couldn't get them, and he was trying to like kid around with me, and I was like, dude, I asked you for like one thing, you could have sent them home to me. And then he pulls them out of this bag, and I was just elated. And even though I did not like him as a boyfriend, those books are very dear to me, and they are in my daughter's room now. And they're really cool. They have all different covers on them, and now I'm collecting the illustrated ones, which are actually really cool too. Female heroine books. I buy them for my daughter. So she has books on all different types of people. She has Michelle Obama, she has Rosa Parks, she has Amelia Earhart and Jackie O, and numerous scientists and women that invented things. And I want her to be a fearless woman. She's obviously intelligent because my husband is brilliant, and I hope that she got his brains. I'm smart, but my husband's really brilliant. And so I'm raising a feminist because I just think that women are important, you know? They really are. They've done so many amazing things in history. And when you read these children's books, I mean, I didn't know of half of these things that were discovered by women. And so I'm learning while I'm trying to teach her. And so, yeah, most of the feminist books that I buy are children's books. There's just so many amazing women in history, and they make all these great children's books for them. So that's what she's got, whether she likes it or not. You asked about music. Okay, so music is one of my favorite things in life. My husband and I did not date. We went to collect vinyl. We didn't go to fancy dinners and like, you know, get dressed and like, you know, we didn't do any of that nervous stuff. We went and wanted to find original copies of Layla and Aladdin Sane and Ziggy, you know? So I love Bowie, and I love, I wrote them all down because I actually can't remember. I'm a huge Madonna fan. You know, she's a little nuts now, but, you know, I still think she's amazing. I love Gaga because she's a talent, no matter how crazy she is. I've loved Adele since she was a guest star on Ugly Betty. So, like, the very, very beginning. She's amazing. We just bought Billy Joel tickets for his 100th show at MSG. We just bought U2 tickets, so July is going to be a lot of fun. Queen. I love Queen. I love Blondie. And I love Led Zeppelin. And I love the Cranberries. And so that's why I said in my podcast, really upset. Dolores O'Riordan recently passed away from health issues. And I'm super, super upset about it. I was actually crying. My daughter came up to me. And you know how she puts her hands on her own face? She put them on mine. Yeah. But these people shape who we are. You know, they're the soundtrack to our lives. And so, you know, they're important to me. And Dolores, that one came out of nowhere. I had tickets last September to go to a show where they were going to play the Cranberries hits with a string quartet. And I was so excited. And then the tickets got kicked back to me and I got reimbursed, and because she didn't feel well, and I felt really bad, but I was waiting for them to go on tour again. And like last month they said that she was starting to feel better and they were going to reschedule, and then she passed away. So I'm very, very upset about that. Anyway, I hope I've answered your questions. Sorry I ended on such an awful note, but thank you for all the questions. Please ask more. Rachel, your name is Reward on Ravelry, which is really cool. I'd actually like to know the background of that if you want to write me. You asked me a lot of questions about EYF and Edinburgh Yarn Festival. We haven't really planned a lot about it yet. So any projects in mind that not really. I have enough yarn to knit through for the rest of my life. Literally for the rest of my life. I'm going there to find anything that I find unique. I'm not going there with any projects in mind. I have a Ravelry queue, but I don't really pay attention to it. Most of the patterns that I find because I follow a lot of my favorite designers on Instagram. And then if I decide like I want to make a sweater coat or I want to make, a cardigan, then I go on Ravelry and I just search the cardigan. So I don't have anything in mind that I'd be shopping for at EYF. I do, however, want to make a beeline to La Bien-Aimée, and I'm getting a yellow fringe field bag. I may get 4 of them. I am dying for one. And I don't even know why, because I'm not really a yellow person. I really like pinks and reds, but it's a beautiful bag and I just want it. And I have lots of pins that I need a new bag to put them on. So we are arriving Thursday. We're leaving early on Sunday. Anytime I'm out of the festival, I'll be sightseeing. I won't be knitting. So you said, would there be an opportunity to meet me outside of the festival? I truly don't know what my schedule is going to be. So why don't you just private message me and then let me know, are you going to the festival? Because if you are, I'll let you know when I'm going to be there. And so I will be there all 3 days, but I don't know what time. I think that Thursday I was thinking we might go in the afternoon. Friday we may go in the morning, and Saturday we'll probably be there for a long time on Saturday. But I was thinking more along the lines of the afternoon. I'm not so sure. There's a lot of us, so we're trying to make a schedule that works for everybody, but we don't know who's going to split up and who's going to be with who. I'll try to cover it more before the festival. So guys, that's it. Thank you so much for your questions. I hope you liked your answers. And if you have any more questions, or if anybody else has any questions, leave them in my Ravelry thread for Gemma Darling Daily. And every 2 weeks when I podcast, I will answer all of your questions in a companion video. Thank you so much for tuning in. Again, thank you for the questions. Have a wonderful week, guys. Bye.